Look, I know you're trying to be lame pilled, and for that extent, you stay up until like 3 a.m. looking at like 4chan schizo
Yeah.
posts.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes. I do. So what?
Nothing. It's freaking heckin' awesome.
Yeah, it's right. It is sick. It is awesome. Yeah, and you don't fucking like drill me about it. You can't.
Put the money in the bag. Oops, I just got a bag. This is sound of a bag. I'm on Snapchat, I'm getting money. I get racks just like a crab. Came from the bottom, now I'm at the top. This is the sound of a robot.
Hi, welcome to this week's episode. This is just gonna be me and Connor for this one. Banjo can't be here because like, I got work. Ew. It's like,
Gotta work.
so it's just gonna be us, just talking, like it's just the two most autistic members.
Absolute guff.
Well, yeah, but I feel like it's just like a big anchor on this podcast is just Banjo, because me when it's just me and you, it just goes full blown autismo mode. So
I think yeah, but the thing is, right, I have a problem where I can keep a conversation going, but I can't start it. And the way that we start most podcasts is always really fucking jilled. Like, hey, we need to introduce everyone. Fuck off.
No. Look,
my introduction is the schizo fucking ramblings that we did.
Look, people can't. I think you understand this because it's just coming from you. You think you're the best, most interesting person in the world, and I get that.
Is that
right? People when normal ass people just log in for the first time, they hear you talking about like your Chinese novels or whatever. They just want this is fucking annoying. I want to log off, and that's fair.
But that's how you should know me. You should know me as the guy who reads Chinese novels. You shouldn't know me as fucking.
And speaking of Chinese, this is a brilliant fucking like transition to tonight's topic, because let's be honest, if we didn't have a topic for this episode, I think everyone would just not give a fuck. But tonight's topic is China. We love China. We heart China.
Yeah.
I saw because
that's like half of me.
Because I'm gonna be honest with you, Connor. I'm gonna be fully honest with you. I did mention this before we started the podcast, but like this has mostly just been spurred on from like me watching that Vice documentary series that like Tadhg gave me the other week. So this is just gonna be like me. It's like, oh whoa, this is like China. It's like epic. So I think
China is like cool.
It is
like
cool.
Both from a mod. Like it's really interesting because
like,
China as because there's lots of ways to talk about China. There's China, the geographical location, which is just as big as the United States and way more varied. Because a lot of the America is a desert, even if they won't accept that. There's China as the sociological existence, which is interesting enough to talk about. In fact, it's even way more interesting than America to talk about, because everything that could be said about America has been said, because a good chunk of Americans think America is the world, and then there's everyone else.
Look, my understanding I'm gonna be real with you for a minute. My understanding of China isn't really that varied or deep. It's not. Yeah, well,
Joseph and the kiddie
look, man. I don't like. You'll ask this to anyone, and it's like, what do you know about China? It's just like, oh, CCP country, you know, like, 我就说 2v2. It's like this, literally like fucking, like that. That's their this the funny country, right?
Funny country, yeah.
Well, that was my understanding of it. It's like, China kind of like, so it's always been I've always had a very like tacit, like sublime interest in China. So just like, what is this? What's really going on here? You don't really hear a lot. You don't really hear a lot from China. That's the thing. You don't really hear a lot about it. You're more just hearing this is what the Chinese government's done this week. And
you're speaking on your behalf. I check out the CGTV channel fucking every day of the week, because they're always, the CGTV channel is honestly really cool.
Look,
they output, like, sure, it's like tourist propaganda, but it's it's way more interesting than the tourist propaganda that the Gold Coast puts out.
Well, I just like that's why talking about this with you would be perfect, because you love China, you love the CCP, you love you love Mao, you love everything about China, man. You love ice cream.
Yeah, I love.
You love John Cena.
When I walk out, that's true. When I walk outside, I call it a great step forward.
No, okay,
when I come out of my cave every fucking 2 weeks.
I just like I wanna like. Because I just really spurred my interest in China after watching that. Like,
really sparked your interest. Yeah,
it sparked because it's just like the whole like thumbs up China thing with David Cho. That was such an interesting series because it just like took the premise of like, what if we hitchhiked? Because previously we're just hitchhiking across America and that. Now it's like, what if we hitchhike across China? And that just really just immediately sparked my interest, and it was like that. I didn't really think about it. I was like, what places would you see in China? Because you just like,
there's so much to see in China. China's a really varied country, because while you think of it as China, it's more in the same way that you can split America into the north and south. You can split China into its east and west. Basically, China throughout basically the last couple centuries has been like, you have quote unquote modern China, which is probably what most people think of as China. And then you have more classical China, which is where you get further west. And slowly, as time has gone on, there more and more of Eastern China so-called exists. And it's really hard to explain a lot of things about like Chinese culture if you don't accept the fact that China has had a continuous history, unlike most Western countries and very few Aboriginal countries, which means that you can set a through line of, okay, this Chinese history as it exists encompasses the entirety of Egyptian, Persian, Greek, Roman. Instead of all those individual societies founding, it's always just been the Chinese Empire, and a lot of people don't realize that. And a lot of people don't understand that. And you kind of need that context in a sort of macro way to understand a lot of what China is and what China can be and what China has done. Like, for example, something interesting that isn't really talked about much is Japan's successes can be immediately contributed to its interaction with China. Because the Japanese and the Chinese and the Koreans have all tried to colonize each other consistently. And Japan, being kind of a cool kazoo sounded tier country.
Yeah, what the fuck was you kind of burped mid-sentence there?
Yeah, I burped mid-sentence. What do you think? I had a nice fish dinner.
A fish dinner? What sort of fish dinner? Was that the fish from the other day?
Yeah.
I was like...
That was funny.
That was so funny because you were just like I hopped on VC the other night. Like, what were you doing that day, by the way? Were you like, where were you catching fish at?
Well, that was my dad. He came back.
Did you just like, hey, Dad, I've fish. Sell it to your friends. Friends like.
You don't even sell it to your friends. Just ask if your friends want any.
That's
what I did.
What, just like whole ass fishes, like.
Yeah, there was a lot of fish, and it's all really good quality.
But what's it's like you just
like really expensive, like $100 a kilo fish.
Like, it's just like, I feel like it's like because like I went in saw just like I got back from work that day and like I hopped on VC and just like, hey Max, you want some fish? And I was like, what? And it's like a fish. And I got some fish, and I was like, why do you have fucking fish? What?
I wonder why. Max. I wonder why I would give out fish to my good friend who thought I'd appreciate good fish.
I think like it was just like the first thing you say to someone in a sentence. I think that's just a bit odd. It's like, well, hey, I have this fish. Take it off me, please.
No, it's not that. It's because if I'm gonna get it to you, I'm gonna get it to you now.
Right. Well, yeah, because it has a
because
rough.
Fun fact: fish rots. I know you don't realize this, but like fish goes off.
Like, So, I fucking remember this saying this is very tangential to like what we were supposed to adhere to, but like I remember seeing this like video of like some guy fucking like ripping out the spinal cord in a fucking fish, and it's like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. So the meat stays like alive for a little bit longer, and it's like why would you do
so the
that?
meat stays alive for a little bit longer because most high-end places will pay incredibly high margins for even just slightly fresher fish.
I see.
Like that's why all the best fish restaurants are on the wharfs, because they just have the fish ships literally take the fish that are probably still alive in buckets and give it to the staff and then immediately cook them. Because the fresher fish it is, generally the better it is.
I see.
I know you don't understand fucking
I
privilege.
don't really. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really like fish that much.
I mean, that's the same with me, but I can appreciate like fresh fish.
I haven't really had fresh fish, honestly. Like
That's probably why fresh fish is really good. I'm more of a
fresh fish. But I'm sorry.
I'm
I'm sorry.
Literally, this is what I have to deal with every day. I have to deal with bullying. I have to deal with slander.
Look, man.
I have to be deal with calling the Chinese. You read? What a fucking loser, eh?
No, but like it is funny just to lampoon you at every moment.
It is, yeah. It is funny.
Look, when you missay a word, you know, like I fucking like when you mispronounce a word, mind you. I think it's just funny for us just to like instantly just mock the shit out of you for over like 10 minutes for that one mistake. But anyway, I think
my knuckles so fucking hard.
We gotta get back to talking about China. But so like I think like it's like I think there's like so speaking of like landscapes and that I think it's so interesting because it's just like you've got like desert, you got like mountains. You got snow. You got all these fucking different places, and like even places like industrial, like heavily populated areas such as like Beijing, Shanghai have this very distinct like atmosphere to it. And I think that's a good topic to lead on. What I'm about to really talk about is sort of just like the artistic scene in specifically Beijing, because it is a thing that's kind of like touched on like a bit frequently. But it's the whole vibe the whole city has, because it's continually caked in just like perpetual mist and shit, just like feeling like industrial like bullshit and that.
Beijing is
just soldiers everywhere.
Beijing is probably the most capitalist place you could ever go to.
Oh yeah, it's like
that's real. Like when people say, "Oh, China's communist," it's mostly that the ruling party calls itself communist. China is hyper, like China is, I would say, even more capitalist than America by far, because economic power, because of China's incredibly long history of governance and bribes. It's considered accepted even and socially acceptable to bribe members of the government to get your way, to bribe social servants, and so even more closely than in America and the Western world, economic power directly correlates to political power, and vice versa. They're basically one in the same.
I just think that's I think it's interesting, just to see that. I think it's so interesting. Yes, I see. I like it. Just like
I'm tipping.
I don't know.
Together.
I don't know. Like, he got like it was touched on by David Cho because like he's an artist. Like, it's literally the first fucking few things he says at the start of the Hitchhiking Across China series. It's a just story. It's like a great inspiration for artists and shit. Like this is.
He said those exact words.
Yeah, because he's just very crass. I know, like Vice is just like it's the news, like the Nothing News Network. Just like paying my pussy in red, white, and blue for 4th of July.
Vice is Vice is the like embodiment of the liberal establishment.
No, but the liberalist establishment. But like
no, I don't mean like libtard. I mean like classic, like Democrat, classical liberal, that sort of thing that you get specifically from I would say nah.
All right, well just that aside, I feel like, but like original Vice, which is like still that same era as Hitchhiking Across China and like the North Korea, like if everyone knows, like classic the North Korea fucking videos and that them sneaking into North Korea, but like it's just like it's just like it's very weirdly intimate because it's usually just like one or two guys and they're just like a fucking cameraman, and then the cameraman never says anything, so it's just like just them talking to themselves, and it just like it's very like especially David Cho, because he's just constantly talking about how horny he is. It's like, oh yeah, like I love Beijing, man, but I don't speak the language, and I haven't fucking like I've been so horny because I can't talk to anyone. It's been like 2 weeks. It's like so backed up.
That's why.
I was watching that shit. Some of the shit he says in that fucking that series is kind of like honestly very very weird. It's like, yeah, fuck. It's like you're just hitchhiking as a girl. It's so much easier because you got spread them. It's like this. It's honestly very gross to hear some of the shit he says. But overall, he's very interesting to listen to and that. But anyway, he was just giving his like perspective about Beijing. It's just all just very has this very dystopian vibe to it, you know, because it's just it's just like it is just like core. It's like it just is very industrial city, and you can just really sense it in the just even like again in the atmosphere.
It's Detroit. Just, I would say it's the closest thing would be Detroit in its heyday.
Oh yeah, like because it's just like the very essence of industry is being just like pushed out into the world, because it is just caked in fucking like smog and like in pollution and like fucked up shit. But that shit is great for artists, because I don't know, fucking. But like it does shit, and then like shit like Ai Weiwei and that, he's a classic example of just good artists and that. Like love is...
Artists benefit in areas with with incredibly rich people, because.
Well, that goes without saying, because it's like money, but like
no, I mean most artists who make the correlation between artists and wealthy people and ego is historical in both Western and Eastern countries. And today, most artists that are successful in the sphere are mostly just because people view it as a way to show off or an investment.
I feel like a lot of the time it's all the same shit with like Basquiat and that. It's like I feel like art, it's just like people will just genuinely just like, oh, that looks so nice, and like, oh, like it's more so just like this is nothing original. It's more so just used to flaunt like, oh, I'm intellectual, I'm deep, and that for like rich people, and it's just another way just to embezzle fucking money and like do tax fraud.
Well, it's not embezzling, it's an investment legally. Embezzling is if you do it illegally, which you basically can't.
Well, it's just
anyone who actually does embezzling has enough money to get away with doing embezzling.
Like I feel like people like those types of people, like it's like of just like buy art, and even if it just saw like, especially with Basquiat's work, because it's like a lot of his work was just very anti-capitalist, very like the like structure, like the structure of America pretty much, and like it's just, but then like all his work was just like picked up by all these really like very rich like elitist people. I saw like one of his like skull paintings. He got like it was like went for like 1,500 million, I think. Yeah, and like that's just like that's like ridiculous to me, because it's because like this goes against everything he stood for, and you see like this shit like in like fucking like in Uniqlo, like all of his like art shit is put like just slapped on like a t-shirt Uniqlo, and it's like that feels so like redundant, you know, like for his statement as an artist, because it's all just like weirdly capitalism's biggest strength is its ability to turn anti-capitalist messages into part of itself. Despite what Basquiat might want, or whether he does, unless he specifically goes out of his way to not sell any of his artwork, which is something he could do if he actually cared that much. But he's going to posture like he doesn't. I don't actually think he's that anti-capitalist. You're saying he could just present, like I just, this is such, like,
not sell shit.
You're saying this like as like a this is like a side note thing, but like you do know he's dead, right? You do.
No.
We were in the same art class when we were learning about him, like Basquiat. He died at 28. How'd you like famous ass art? How'd you not notice?
Sorry, I'm not very good with keeping. I don't really remember any of the faces and the names from art. I mostly remember their actual artworks. It's just how I am. I have a terrible memory, but some things stick out.
Alright. That was a bit weird. That was a weird thing to point out. I'm sorry, but yeah, and like, I don't know. What's interesting about Ai Weiwei, is it's like a lot of his like shit, I feel like you see this argument popped up about him currently, and that a lot of his artwork was fueled by him just like deliberately going against the CCP and that. While he was still living in China, and like a lot of stuff he makes now, after he's left, fully left China and everything, I know a lot of people complain that his messages are very disconnected now, because it's because he's he's more so targeting Western civilization and just critiquing capitalism and that, and people say, well, you fucking you critique China, but now you you're criticizing
one side.
America.
You know, do you know that in Marvel films, one side is good, one side is evil?
That's what annoys me the most, almost, because it's just it has no, you can't criticize both sides of the spectrum, because you gotta stick with one.
Jill Biden
and
can do no wrong.
I feel people have this very very black and white view of how how the West versus East sort of acts in that. This is such a nothing statement, but I more so view the whole conflict between I don't know, America and China. People just view it as good versus evil, but it's more so just two forces just colliding almost.
That's the official statement of the CCP, by the way. Not America. America has openly stated that they see China as evil. Well, China's open stance is that it is simply two superpowers colliding it always will.
This is not to say again. This is not to say that China isn't China isn't bad. China is really fucking bad in terms of human rights abuses and fucking and shit. I'm just saying.
I would say that it's better than America, because China keeps the most. Well, China.
I wouldn't say that, honestly, but
really.
No, man, no.
That's because, in my opinion, while they commit similar amounts of acts, China mostly keeps to what it perceives as its sphere, while America tries to police the entirety of the world.
Oh, well, yeah, but no, fuck, this is I just think
maybe it's because I'm a Kiwi, so because New Zealanders have always.
I'm a Kiwi, but
no.
My bloodline makes me.
This is actually important to the conversation, because while Australians are brought up with an anti-China bias, I've noticed. New Zealanders are much more neutral on the issue, because New Zealand, after the rape of Nanking, was one of the only countries to help China afterwards. A Kiwi is the only foreigner to have ever met the emperor. There's a reason why New Zealand got was the first ever Asia Pacific trade deal. In fact, the first ever trade deal with China was New Zealand. So Kiwis are brought up with much less of an anti-China bias, and because of all the terrible shit that America and Britain has done, I wouldn't say we're brought up with an anti-Europe America sort of bias. But it's definitely much more mixed.
Yeah, I feel
Australia, not to say basically a slur, but Australia's kind of trying to be a mini America.
Yeah, Australia is just fucking the way it's governed in that by.
That's because the Republicans literally created the Liberal Party.
Yeah, it's just puppet. It is just run as like puppet America, and I feel like that's very much soon into like how like the cultures, like how like a modern Australian culture is run, and that it's very like a lot of people will just like in here when like ingesting like the like news media or media in general, or more so have like this, they'll see America as this very like idealistic place, and that
No,
and,
America's horrible to live.
oh yeah,
If you're not a millionaire or better, America's a horrible place to live.
oh yeah, but well, like I feel like a lot of like how Australia is like governed and that, it is just very insane because it's more so just very much controlled by what America wants, and more casely what the CIA wants. This is like, because especially shit with like Pine Gap and that, like they're just using it to like surveil on like they're using Pine Gap to surveil on fucking America and shit. It's a much bigger topic to talk on about yada yada.
Yeah, but but China also does that with its Great Chinese Firewall.
Oh yeah,
That's the main thing. That's the main reason why we have this sort of view of China. It's because China doesn't want to let it integrate with the with all of the world, because in that case it can't control the narrative, which it's just like how America successfully creates its narrative through self-sustaining capitalist archetypes. China creates its narrative through the government being incredibly interlinked with the media.
Like I don't know, but even then, like I don't know, the amount of control, you do have to admit, the amount of control.
I mean,
has over the fucking like. I don't know. It's such a weird.
It's a difference in type. It's a difference in type, and it's a difference in enforcement. Right. The Western world mostly censors itself through not displaying, say, pro-union messages for a company that they're going to show an advertisement of in case it pulls. They're not going to show anti-government messages because that might get people knocking on their door, and they don't want to have to deal with the lawsuits by the government. They're not going to do that because they have genuine reasons not to. Where in China it's less that the media is doing it because they don't want to deal with this, and it's more that the media and the government are one and two the same. It's another arm, right? There's a difference between censorship. There's a difference between self-censorship, like Chomsky says, and a difference in active censorship, like China mostly does.
I see.
But China also does soft censorship similar to that. For example, it has its great China has an incredibly efficient use of technology and bots. Most hold on, I'm organizing my thoughts here. China has an incredibly strong sense of patriotism that it instilled for an incredibly long time, where America's only really been heavily instilling patriotism in its community after the start of the Red Scare.
Well,
and that sort of generational trauma is much more effective if it's been multiple generations.
Well, I don't know, because I feel like the sort of nationalism that China has, it's very, I don't know, it's weirdly insidious in sort of degree, in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, all patriotism.
It's not, well, it's all patriotism is at its core, it has this weird sense of no, don't listen to anybody else, listen only to us. It's very, but it's
yeah,
I don't know because it's
what you mean?
I think a core thing for me with the nationalism, because it sort of just weeds out any fucking I don't know,
dissenters.
Dissenters, yeah, and any discussion on any other outside issue. You look at I follow account on Instagram for someone that's living in China right now, and a lot of they say that a lot of people that this is gonna be just no surprise to anyone, that a lot of Chinese residents they have a genuine curiosity about how other places operate and that, but since it's just there's such a core sense sense of patriotism with in the media they ingest, or like and pretty much how they interact with the world and that. It's just like they're never really given like a proper scope of how things like properly function and what. It's not much in the same sense as like I say was
America does.
Like at the start,
have you seen an American school saluting its flag? It's really weird and culty in the same way that China has national days off where they all go out and they see the local government precinct official, and they salute him and all that. You know, it's incredibly similar in the same ways. But the thing is, right? Chinese patriotism, nationalism versus American nationalism is a lot more effective simply because, here's linking around for you. China, because of China's incredibly extensive history, it has a lot of things that it can say that it did, apart from America basically claiming all the glamour of World War II. China has so many inventions, so many kingdoms risen and fallen, and a clear history. They have, unlike how like weird white nationalists have to say that no, actually Plato and Socrates were actually American because they were white. You know, Confucius is just actually Chinese. Like a lot of the things that have to be grandfathered in for white nationalists are just the same sort of things that China just naturally has. So it makes a way more compelling argument to say, you know, China's the best country in the world because we've been around the longest. True. We had the biggest empire. True. You know, like it's much easier to do a patriotism if you have a lot more accomplishments under your belt that are actually true. You don't have to spend time lying and falsifying things, which China definitely does.
Yeah, well,
you know?
That's another.
Also, how China has a lot of good old racism.
That's another thing. Racism. What's going on? What's going on with racism in China? Because that is a very apparent thing. Also, it was like from that Instagram account. There's because you know China does have like a lot of relationship to like Africa and like Central Africa, like giving a lot of like university scholarships there to like a lot of the
because they see it as a talent base.
Oh yeah, and I know because you'll see this like I don't know. It's the same way, like it's sort of the same like xenophobia thing as in Japan and that, but like still where a lot of like so where the lot of outcasts of society sort of like linked together and like you know because it's like a lot of like China do be racist, so like
but like what people don't realize is most of China's racism towards like white people and black people isn't really that strong. It's more so the racism towards other Asian people, because it turns out they're not just all Asians. What a surprise! Turns out they have history with each other. Wow.
Oh yeah, it's like Japan, Korea.
If you're black in China or Japan, people will probably like look at you funny. But if you're like Korean in Japan, and you're alone in a back alley, you have a good chance of just getting beaten up.
Well, there's a lot of those like political buses in like Japan that let's sort of like the guys in the trucks.
Go home, white pigu. That's classic.
What was that from? What the fuck was that?
It's a classic video where a Japanese nationalist organization goes out of it. Goes in front of an airport, like you know the circle where you get your bags after you land.
Yeah,
and they just keep chanting "Go home, white people," and it's fucking great. I love that video.
I was just clarifying because I was just checking if you weren't just doing like a
little gaslighting,
a quick little racism meme for shits and giggles, but like.
Racism for fun and profit.
Well, yeah, racism is funny, but like,
and it is profitable.
Alright, but like, it's just like like a lot of those just a lot of like those like right wing groups in Japan that try like tour around and that it's very you really get the sense it's like they have a fucking vitriolic hatred for
Japan is like
Korean and Chinese
I think
people.
Japan is literally like. Hold on, let me check this before I say something I'm not regret.
But like, yeah, the party, the political, like a lot of like the political parties in Japan are very like they all have like it's to me it's like very like varying shades of fucking like the right, I guess, because it's like a lot of them are sort of like operating the same way that like I don't know like the liberals do here in Australia, but like the majority, like there's some groups, I can't remember the name of them, they're just very much like core like a prime like World War II Japan like nationalism and that's very very frightening.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right. Sorry, I was going to claim that Japan is an ethno-state, but I'm going to. That is not true. That is not true. I would say Japan is a heavily ethnic nationalism country.
Yep.
As in, it relies heavily on its ethnicity as a national identity.
Well, that's the same thing.
So it's incredibly close to an ethno-state, but it's not legally an ethno-state. Like there isn't like more legal loopholes to hop through if you're like if you're a different citizen.
Yeah,
more culturally like ethnic rather than like legally ethnic like it is in some countries.
Like it's I don't know it's the same thing that's like the same thing sort of happens.
My favorite ethno state, Israel.
Motherfucker. But like the same thing sort of generally happens in China as I was like saying, and that there's still like I think the national identity still like in China like it ties back to like the nationalism and that it's just like maintaining that ethnicity, I guess. I don't know.
I don't think it's less an ethnicity and more a Chinese culture, because China isn't made up of one quote-unquote people. What people think of Chinese is the Han Chinese, but there's plenty of other Chinese ethnic groups. They are certainly discriminated against, but it's not really. It's more like local discrimination, less like, you know, if you take a Han Chinese person and put him in one village might be racist to him, one not. But if you go to the city, it's basically just like that, like you would find in most sort of closed off countries, like say Australia. Like if you went to one Australian town, there might be a bunch of bigotry towards Aboriginal people. If you went to another, they might love you. You know, it's just independent.
Yeah, it's like I know. Like, I think a lot of like what you're seeing now, like a lot of like, weirdly enough, like China's a very diverse China's a very diverse like place, and that has like so many varying cultures and that. But like I feel like
really big.
A general goal you can like see with like the CCP and that is it's generally trying to like weed out a lot of that it's sort of trying to just like centralize it's like ethnic and national identity.
Yeah, that's what the CCP is openly trying to do to Tibet.
It's so scary, man. It's scary.
Yeah, I mean,
what was Ayan? Join VC shower cam. I will not be doing that. I'm sorry.
So
I will go.
What the fuck are you doing in the shower again? Aiden loves going on VC and say, "Hey guys, I'm in the shower," and just
don't take photos. He always says, "Don't take photos!" Exclamation mark! Question mark! Exclamation mark! For some reason, I don't know why.
It's very scary.
I never joined.
Fucking like.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said about China. I think the biggest thing is people don't realize how like big China is.
Oh yeah, like that really is emphasized in the Hitchhiking Across China series.
Yeah, it's half of an entire continent.
I didn't really consider how big only in the past few months I've really like given some time to ponder. It's like, you know, fucking China's massive now that you think about it. Because it is just like it's just bigger than America, and like it has like so much more varying it's like landscapes and like environments and that.
China makes up almost 2% of the world. Of not the land, just the world.
The world. What the fuck?
The only two.
Aang just sent in again. Joined VC with Shadow and Knuckles about to kiss, but
I wish that were me and Aiden. The only two countries bigger than China are Canada, which is big by a little bit, and Russia, which is almost as big as China and
No, the Russia's bigger than
Australia
China.
put together.
Russia's bigger
Yeah, that's
than
what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
almost like an extra third bigger than China.
fucking like. It feels like I don't think Russia like how much like it's the majority of Russia is just like fucking like just like
Yeah.
woodland and whatnot.
That's the big
It's
thing with China is even though it's only slightly bigger than America, the wet place with China is most of it is habitable. That's the big thing, because America might be big, but most of it is wasteland. A lot of most of it is like completely inhabitable. There are some places like around the Mississippi River is where most of the crops are done, and the coast, but it's very similar to Australia in that manner.
Not at all. Like I wouldn't agree with that because like
What you
because America is like a lot of it's like sort of its waste sort of like general like it's fat like a lot of it is just like arid like countryside like just very arid countryside. It's like it's not completely inhospitable like Central Australia because
That's
like
true.
Central Australia. That's a like you don't. I feel like
You
Connor,
cannot live there.
Connor, I feel like you don't understand the size of Central Australia because it's fucking like it's like pretty much pretty much it starts and like it terminates like just pretty much like 14, 15 hours like if you're going in like inland and that like that's where like Central Australia starts and like when you get to that point like shit starts getting like inhospitable pretty much like very fast. Like
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. With America, there's it's still like very like arid. It's like oh like I feel bushes and shit near there, but like it's still like you can still sort of live there. With like of Australia, it's like it's called a fucking like it's called the frying pan of the world for a reason.
Yeah. Just imagining a big giant lifting up Australia and fucking frying eggs on it.
I think I saw like a cartoon of like a giant like spinning a fucking like the world in like a fucking like a basketball. So was that like Michael Jordan? I don't know.
That was an Atlas Shrugged, I think. I think that's the point where Atlas Shrugged.
I don't fucking know. Point like that was just completely that was just like a random thought that popped in my head then.
Yeah. Anyway,
but, like-
so, yeah, China's absolutely fucking massive.
Really fucking massive. All right, so
And point still stands. Most of it is hospitable. Is the big thing.
What would you like to go in China, Connor? Where would you like to go?
I would like to.
I want to ask you this because I feel like it's going to be very interesting to hear what you said because I feel like you're very comparably more well versed in what China looks like than
definitely like to go to Beijing.
Yes. And
that's obvious. Like, I'd like to go to the Ming Dynasty tombs. That's like a big thing. I want to go see all the. I forget the place, but I'd love to see the old site where a bunch of I'm trying to remember. A bunch of old Confucius scrolls were found, like not that long ago. I'd love to go there. I forget where it is though. I'd love to go to Chengdu.
What's Chengdu?
Chongqing.
What's Chengdu? What's Chengdu? Like fucking
awesome. That's like the central China.
Oh. Uh-huh.
Like if you it's not it's only it's like one prefecture across from Wuhan.
Yeah.
I'd love to go to Shenyang and Dalian, just like the areas that are like very close to North Korea.
Because I feel like it would just be very.
I'd really like to go on like.
To...
I mean, yeah, it would fuck to go around China if I knew Chinese. I would really like to go. I guess I don't think that really counts, but like the area that's just by Mongolia. Yeah, it's Namrog. It's just in Mongolia off the G302. So I guess it's technically Mongolia, but I think it counts. It's just off China. That's basically it. I mean, when you kind of get further from like mid China, you start getting into like really like foresty regions, like much other stuff. But I would like to go to the. I guess that's also technically in Wuhan but I'd love to go to the Arunachal Pradesh. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's definitely not how you pronounce it. Those are the areas. All the places I'd like to go.
Okay. Alright. It's been 50 minutes, 51 minutes, so, 早上好，菠萝，我喜欢
I love CCP.
冰淇淋，我喜欢冰淇淋，这是